All right, happy 4th, everybody. So, I want to tell you what, really quick, throw this message in. If you're having trouble taking back your life after a narcissist in those situations, these are some things to consider. So, yeah, we all know that healing after a narcissist can be hard. It can be painful. There's a lot of regret that comes with that. There's a lot of, you know, some hardship that comes with that because of everything you endured and went through. And with everything declining and going the way that it did, sometimes it's hard to get that restart, right? Sometimes it's hard to get yourself back out to being who you were, right? And I don't mean, well, let me say this, because a lot of people think that they have to totally remake themselves over. It's not the case. In most cases, what happened was you had very poor boundaries. It's not necessarily who you are as a person. It's the things that you allow yourself to be subjected to, or to be, to put up with, to simplify it. The things that you allow yourself to put up with from someone else, or to take from someone else. That's what's got to change. Not knowing when to curve certain types of behaviors or certain types of people. These are the things that, and many times, get you in trouble. This is the thing that got you in too deep with the narcissist in the first place. Most of you suffer from having poor boundaries. In any case, if you do, you're gonna experience this. You're gonna go through these things. You're gonna have a lot of hardship and a difficult time overcoming, because the biggest thing that doesn't make sense is, although you were just being you, and you feel like afterwards that you can't be you. So this is what I found, where many just become isolated. They just become hermits, or they want to leave people alone altogether, because somehow they're figuring all people are messed up, which is not the case, or the way that they were with someone got them into that condition. So they feel defective themselves. And it's not the case. It comes from not having the right type of judgment as well. Poor boundaries, lack of good judgment. This is what gets most people caught up in these narcissistic type of situations, having a hard time dealing with and overcoming. All right. There's times when, you give people a little bit of leeway, but there's times when you just absolutely cut it off without a second guess. If you have trouble being decisive, just think about your life, think about situations and things you've been in. If you are an indecisive person, you'll struggle with making good judgment calls, because you'll begin to question yourself. You'll wrestle within your own mind whether or not you made the right decision. And you may even go back on that decision, numerous times. It doesn't even have to be one time. 2-3 times you're going back and forth on a decision that you should have stuck with in the first place. Why? It's because you don't trust your judgment. Right? There's power. There's a lot of power when you have strong conviction, like an absolute definite, right? When it comes to making a decision and not thinking on it after you've reached that point of executing it, right? Of course, I'm not talking about going into something recklessly where you're not thinking and processing the situation beforehand, before making that decision. I'm talking about you've sat down, you've thought about it, you've looked at the positives, you looked at the negatives, and most of everything was leaning to you making whatever decision you're going to make. If that was more on the right side to do, but you struggle to go with it and you're dancing back and forth, that's where the problems come in at. Once you get to that point, you have to execute. You have to just make that decision and stick with it and believe in it. You cannot hold ground. You cannot hold your position with the feeling of having a shaky outcome without feeling confident and secure about your decisions. It won't stand. It won't stand up. You won't stand up. Right? And then afterwards you're going back on it, and it's a bad cycle. And then when it's all said and done, this is where the regret comes in. No, we're not going to be 100% perfect when we make decisions. That's just part of the human experience. But you have to be confident enough and believe in whatever you're doing enough to stand on that, whichever way it may go. And sometimes you have people who are so afraid of making a bad or a wrong decision, it paralyzes them. Like mentally, psychologically, it shuts them down. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to tend to it. So what do? They just let things take its course. They just let things happen. So they're basically, surrendering, giving in, right? In a situation where, there's total capitulation. They've doing the white towel. Right? Because they don't want to, they're too afraid to actually make the decision on their own and it not work out, versus to just sit back and let things happen. Because then internally they could be like, well, it was meant to be that way because I didn't take action. And that feels more safe. Listen, you can't always play things in a safe manner. It'll only get you so far. You have to sometimes be willing to take risk. No risk, no reward. The bold often get lucky because they're willing to take and it's like kind of like Murphy's Law in a way. They're willing to take certain chances. I'm not talking again about reckless chances. I'm talking about things which you've taken in consideration all aspects of what you're doing and what you're getting into, and then you just go with it. It's better to do it that way because at least you have more of a sense of control over the issue instead of just letting things happen and play out. And this is what many of you have done with these narcissists in these situations. And at the end of the day, it's all this time was wasted because of fear of the outcome, right? Because of fear that what you did caused whatever was going to happen. So you feel more comfortable with just letting things play out because at least you can say, I wasn't the cause behind it. No, you have to take action. You have to step in. And that's going to be very important. So be mindful of that. Be very mindful of that. Because in the end, when all of this is over, you don't want to be left with regret. You want to be able to take your power back by knowing that I did everything I could. And you have to be confident in that too. I did everything I could. Nothing else could be done. There's nothing else that could have been done. And I don't care who it would have been, who it was. Nothing else would have been able to be done. And you have to learn how to be comfortable with that. Anyway, enjoy the 4th. You all be safe out there. Anyone looking for a one-on-one consultation, just click the link in the description. Shoot me an email. I'll get you info on that. Until next time, everybody have a good one.